Do you remember when downtown meant more than coffee shops and condos? When a Saturday trip to the department store was the week's biggest event, where your mother tried on gloves under chandeliers, your father browsed hardware in the basement, and you pressed your nose against glass cases filled with toys you'd circled in a catalog at home? For generations, Canada's department stores weren't just places to shop. They were landmarks and meeting spots. Tonight, we're walking back into 10 of them, names that once anchored every main street from Vancouver to Halifax, and then, one by one, went dark. These are the vanished department stores only true Canadians remember. Timothy Eaton opened his first store in Toronto in 1869 with a promise: goods satisfactory or money refunded. No haggling, no arguments, just trust. That single policy turned a modest dry goods shop into the largest department store empire Canada had ever seen. By the 1920s, Eaton's wasn't just a store, it was an institution. You walked through brass doors into marble lobbies lit by chandeliers. You rode ornate elevators to fashion floors where clerks wore gloves and knew your name. You wandered past furniture, appliances, toys, and perfume counters that smelled like powder and wood polish. And every November, the catalog arrived, thick as a phone book, full of everything you wanted and couldn't afford. Kids fought over it. Parents hid it until December. The Eaton's Christmas parade rolled down Yonge Street like a national holiday. But by the 1990s, big box chains were eating the edges. Mismanagement hollowed the middle. In 1999, Eaton's filed for bankruptcy. Sears bought the bones and shut the doors. The parades stopped. The catalogs went silent. The name that built Canadian retail disappeared in a single year. But if you grew up flipping those pages by lamplight, you still remember what it felt like to believe in something that large. In 1872, Robert Simpson opened his store just down the street from Eaton's, and the battle for Toronto's shopping soul began. Where Eaton's was grand, Simpson's was graceful. It positioned itself as the upscale choice, the place you went when the occasion mattered. You dressed up to shop at Simpson's, the Art Deco interiors gleamed. The Arcadian Court restaurant on the top floor wasn't just lunch, it was an event. White tablecloths and waiters in vests, where mothers brought daughters for birthdays and engagements. The fashion floors carried labels you couldn't find anywhere else. The holiday windows were jewel boxes. Shopping there felt like stepping into a world that moved slower, spoke softer, and cared about details. Hudson's Bay bought Simpson's in 1978, and for a while the name survived. But by 1991, the overlap was too much. The signs came down, the stores became the Bay. The Arcadian Court closed its doors. Simpson's, the place that taught a generation what elegance looked like, became a memory wrapped in tissue paper and stored in an attic trunk. If you ever sat in that tea room with your grandmother, you know what was lost. Charles Woodward opened his Vancouver store in 1892. And for the next century, Woodward's owned the West. It wasn't just a department store, it was a grocery store, a meeting place, and a weekly pilgrimage rolled into one. The food floors were legendary. Fresh bread from the bakery, meat cut to order, produce piled high. And every first Tuesday of the month, the entire store exploded into $1.49 day. Aisles packed with shoppers hunting deals on everything from dish soap to wool socks. The jingle played on every radio. $1.49 day Woodward's. You can still hear it if you close your eyes. Some stores had parcel conveyors that sent your groceries straight to your car. It felt like the future, efficient and friendly, built for families who worked hard and stretched every dollar. But Woodward's expanded too fast. New supermarkets and discount chains moved in. By 1992, it was bankrupt. Hudson's Bay bought the locations and turned them into Zellers, or the Bay. The name disappeared. The jingle went silent. But Western Canadians who grew up hunting $1.49 day deals still remember the thrill of finding treasure in those aisles, and the smell of fresh bread that made the whole store feel like home. Walter P. Zeller opened his first discount store in London, Ontario in 1931. But it wasn't until Hudson's Bay bought the chain in 1978 that Zellers became a national fixture. By the 1990s, there were 350 stores coast to coast, and every one of them had a teddy bear mascot named Zeddy waiting at the door. You went to Zellers when money was tight and the list was long. Back-to-school clothes, Halloween candy, Christmas toys circled in flyers. The aisles were wide, the prices were low, and the gavel-knocking TV ads promised one thing over and over: where the lowest price is the law. The in-store diners served grilled cheese and fries that tasted better than they should have. The Club Z loyalty program made you feel like you were winning something just by shopping. It wasn't fancy, but it was dependable. A place where families could stretch a paycheck and still come home with bags full of what they needed. Walmart arrived in the 90s and changed the game. Target bought the leases in 2011 and gutted the chain. By 2013, nearly every Zellers was gone. Zeddy disappeared, the diners went dark, the gavel stopped knocking. Canadians who grew up in those aisles still talk about it like losing a friend, one who never judged, never rushed you, and always had what you needed at a price you could afford. In 1960, the Oshawa Group launched Towers as a discount department store with a bold promise: the last day of one sale is the first of the next. In Quebec, it was called Bonimart. Everywhere, it was anchored by a cartoon squirrel named Sparky, who grinned from every flyer and in-store sign. Towers wasn't like the grand downtown stores. It was scrappier, louder, built for neighborhoods instead of main streets. Each department was run as a licensed concession: clothing here, toys there, housewares in the back. You could grab groceries at the attached IGA or Food City, then wander over for a pair of jeans and a photo lab pickup. The restaurants served burgers and fries. The toy aisles were stuffed. The weekly flyers arrived like clockwork, packed with deals that made you feel like you'd beaten the system. But by 1990, the model was tired. Hudson's Bay bought Towers and converted every location to Zellers within a year. Sparky vanished. The endless sales stopped. The quirky neighborhood charm was swallowed whole. Towers became a footnote, remembered mostly by people who grew up hunting deals in its aisles and wondering how a squirrel could make shopping feel like an adventure. In 1952, Simpson's and the American retail giant Sears joined forces to create Simpson Sears. By 1984, it was simply Sears Canada, and by the 1990s, it anchored nearly every mall in the country. But more than the stores, Sears owned one thing: the wish book. Every fall, it arrived, a thick catalog full of toys, tools, appliances, and dreams. Kids circled pages in pen. Parents hid it until the 1st of December. You could spend hours flipping through, imagining what Christmas morning might look like. The stores themselves were dependable: clothing, home furnishings, tools in the basement, appliances on the main floor. Sears was where you bought your first school clothes, your first power drill, your first washer and dryer. It wasn't flashy, but it worked. It was everywhere, and it felt permanent. But Sears stopped investing, the stores aged, the catalog shrank, online shopping pulled customers away, and big box rivals undercut prices. In 2017, Sears Canada filed for creditor protection. By January 2018, every store was closed. The wish book stopped coming. The brand that had shaped a generation's idea of what shopping could be simply disappeared. If you ever circled a toy in that catalog and waited by the mailbox for it to arrive, you know the quiet ache of losing something that felt like it would last forever. In 1957, Jack Stupp opened Consumers Distributing with a radical idea. No showroom floors, no wandering aisles, just catalogs, order forms, and a warehouse in the back. You flipped through pages at home, circled what you wanted, filled out a slip at the store, and waited while staff fetched it from behind a locked door. It was internet shopping before the internet existed. By the 1980s, Consumers Distributing had 243 stores across Canada. The catalogs arrived in the mail like clockwork: jewelry, small appliances, electronics, toys, all at discount prices. Kids studied them like textbooks. Parents planned purchases weeks in advance. You walked into the store, handed over your slip, and stood at the counter while a clerk disappeared into the back. Sometimes they came back with your item, sometimes they didn't, and you had to pick something else. It was frustrating and thrilling in equal measure, a treasure hunt where the treasure might not be in stock. But by the mid-90s, the model was breaking. Inventory problems piled up. Zellers and Walmart offered the same goods on open shelves where you could see and touch them. Consumers Distributing filed for bankruptcy in 1996. The catalogs stopped coming. The counters went silent. The idea that once felt so efficient suddenly felt like a relic. If you ever stood at that counter clutching a slip of paper and hoping they had what you wanted, you remember the strange mix of anticipation and disappointment that defined the whole experience. In 1962, F.W. Woolworth launched Woolco to compete in the booming discount market. And by the 1970s, it was everywhere. Massive, big box stores over 100,000 square feet, filled with clothing, electronics, toys, housewares, and anything else a family might need. But what people really remember is the Red Grill cafeteria. You'd finish shopping and head to the back corner where the smell of popcorn and grilled cheese pulled you in. Red vinyl booths, milkshakes in tall glasses, hot dogs and fries that tasted better than they had any right to. It wasn't fancy, but it was yours. A place where you could sit down, rest your feet, and let the kids burn off energy before heading home. The cafeteria turned shopping into an event, something you could stretch into an afternoon. But Woolworth's cost-cutting couldn't save the chain. In 1994, the company sold all 122 Canadian Woolco stores to Walmart, and the Woolco name disappeared overnight. The Red Grills closed. The big blue signs came down. Many of those stores became Canada's first Walmarts, but the warmth didn't transfer. Woolco wasn't just about low prices, it was about the ritual, the rhythm, the feeling that shopping could be slow and comfortable. If you ever ate a milkshake in one of those booths, you know that some things can't be replaced even when the building stays standing. In 1919, three brothers, Samuel, Joseph, and Harry Cohen, opened Army and Navy in Vancouver, selling surplus military goods out of a single storefront. They called it Canada's original discount store, and for the next century, it lived up to the name. Army and Navy wasn't sleek or polished. The floors were scuffed, the aisles were crammed, bins overflowed with work boots, fishing tackle, hardware, and wool socks. Some locations still had manually operated elevators with attendants who called out the floors. But none of that mattered because Army and Navy had two things no one else could match: unbeatable prices and the annual shoe sale. Once a year, the whole city turned up to hunt through mountains of discounted footwear. It was chaos. It was glorious. It was the kind of treasure hunt that turned strangers into teammates. By 2020, only 5 stores remained, and then COVID-19 hit. Competition, aging infrastructure, and the economic shock were too much. On May 9, 2020, Army and Navy closed its doors for good. The elevators stopped running, the shoe sales ended. Western Canadians who grew up digging through those bins lost more than a store. They lost a piece of their community, a place that never pretended to be anything other than honest, useful, and cheap. Sebastian S. Kresge brought his five and dime empire to Canada in the early 1900s. And for decades, Kresge's was the heartbeat of small-town downtowns. You walked in for a spool of thread and left with penny candy, a goldfish, and a grilled cheese from the lunch counter. Vinyl stools lined up under fluorescent lights, where you could sit elbow to elbow with neighbors and talk about nothing in particular. By the 1960s, Kresge's was fading, and the company pivoted. In 1977, it rebranded to Kmart, trading downtown charm for big box efficiency. The stores grew huge. The red K signs towered over parking lots. You could buy clothing, housewares, electronics, and groceries all in one trip. It worked for a while. But Walmart was coming, and Kmart couldn't keep up. By 1998, the company sold most of its Canadian stores to Hudson's Bay, which converted them to Zellers. The Kmart name disappeared. The lunch counters were long gone. Older Canadians still remember those Kresge stools. The coffee that tasted like it had been sitting all day, the waitress who knew your order, the feeling that you were part of something small and steady. Kmart tried to hold on to that in a bigger package, but it never quite fit. When the last stores closed, it wasn't just a brand that vanished, it was the memory of a time when shopping was slower, simpler, and built around conversation instead of speed. Which one do you remember? The Eaton's catalog, Woolco's Red Grill, $1.49 day at Woodward's? These stores shaped how we grew up. Drop a comment with the one you miss most, hit subscribe to keep these stories alive, and we'll see you next time. Drop a comment and tell us which store you miss most. Hit subscribe to keep these Canadian stories alive, and we'll see you next time when we step back into another piece of the past that deserves to be remembered.